To our next story, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has said that it will open 2 aid distribution sites after keeping its sites closed yesterday over what it said were threats from Hamas against its staff. The announcement on GHF's Arabic Facebook page warns Gazans against showing up to distribution sites before they open, saying they may not be able to serve those who violate the rule. Meanwhile, the military has named 2 more soldiers killed in Friday's building explosion in the southern Gaza Strip, during which 4 in total were killed and 5 were injured. The slain soldiers were 23-year-old Tom Rothstein from Ramat Gan and 20-year-old Uri Yonatan Cohen from Neve Yarak. Both served in the elite Shalom combat engineering unit. The building was booby-trapped, and the explosion caused the structure to collapse on the soldiers. Later, Hamas claimed responsibility for the attack. Amid intensified military operation throughout Gaza as negotiations for a new ceasefire and hostage release deal continue, Hamas has released a new photo of Israel hostage Matan Zangokar, claiming Israeli troops were besieging the area where he was being held in Gaza and threatening to execute him should troops come near. The military stressed in a statement that no attempt had been made to extract Zangokar. Hamas has previously said it would execute hostages if Israeli troops were seen approaching areas where they are being held in August 2024. Hamas murdered 6 hostages in Rafah as Israeli forces operated nearby, though the troops were unaware of the hostages' presence. Their bodies were found a few days after their executions. Now we have guest Martin Saeritz. He's an international affairs expert joining us from Quito, Ecuador. Thank you, Martin, for joining us today. According to you, what prompted the GHF to reopen its distribution sites today amid chaos, and what precautions are being taken?
So basically, Israel takes all of the precautions that the international community stands for. Israel is working with the UN and trying to get all of the precautions and all of the easier and most effective way to get to the civilians and give them all of the food, all of the medicine that they deserve. The thing is that Israel needs to be absolutely sure that they're not using this as a pretext to get weapons inside of the Gaza Strip, because during the years, Hamas has been getting a lot of weapons through so-called humanitarian aid and through this kind of activities. So right now, Israel needs to be 100% sure this is not going to happen.
And recently, we were not hearing a lot about Hamas's action and retaliation against Israel. Where do you think these sudden threats stem from, and what does the escalation between them mean?
So right now, the escalation is getting further, but for a good way. Like Hamas is going to be in the next year almost eliminated. Why? Because Hamas is not only fighting Israel, they're fighting also their own people. People in Gaza realize that Hamas is the cause of this war, they're the cause of their suffering, and also the militia of the power of the people, which is supported by Israel, is fighting Hamas. So Hamas is already acknowledging that their end is going to be soon to be happening, and they're basically fighting everyone, not only Israel, also civilians in Gaza. Hamas is killing people that are going to these centers of civilian aid, and they're killing people in order to use them and to use this as a false flag and to give all of the guilt to Israel, which is not true. So right now, Hamas is going to do everything they can to be against everyone that is going to put in consideration their own existence. They're fighting everyone, even within the Gaza Strip, And it's gonna be a harsh time, but at the end, this is gonna be absolutely necessary for the good of the future of the people in Gaza and for the state of Israel.
And according to you, now switching gears for a moment, why is Israel blocking the latest aid ship that's coming into Gaza?
If we're talking about this 40 um, 40 people ship that is including the activist Greta Thunberg, I think this is absolutely a joke. This is not going to help the people in Gaza at all. I think these people are just opportunists and people who want to take advantage of a very serious situation for them own interests and for getting attention for global people, and also for actually it's well known that these organizations are taking money from a lot of NGOs. So basically this Greta Thunberg is an opportunist and she wants to profit out of the suffering of other people, and basically she's a clown.
Um, and going back to the topic, what measures are being taken by the Israeli government to ensure the security of the Israeli hostages still held by Hamas?
So basically, the Israeli army, they went into Gaza and they're trying to go into the hostages to take them back. Unfortunately, there are absolutely spread all over the Gaza Strip. It's very difficult to know where they are because Hamas infrastructure is very, very huge, and they have been expending millions in this terror infrastructure. Right now, the IDF is trying to reduce the soldiers' lives, and they're actually supporting the people of Gaza and these militias that are against Hamas. They are fighting for liberating Gaza from Hamas. They are fighting for their freedom, and they want to cooperate with Israel because they know the enemy is Hamas, not Israel.
And staying in Israel's topic, since there are a lot of rallies taking streets in Tel Aviv against the current regime, since there are a lot of massive protests in Israel, yet no response from the current government, do you think they are not able to say anything or to their own people? What do you think the reason could be?
Of course, I think the opposition for the current government of Israel has been going through even before the war. I mean, half of the population of Israel is against the current government. However, whether the government is doing their rights okay or not, the system of Israel is still a democratic country. They allowed freedom of expression. Their military is absolutely following international law, even though it has been criticized. In my opinion, yeah, the Netanyahu government has been getting a lot of protests against, and even before the war, the, there has been a lot of protests against the government because of the reform in the laws and the judiciary. So I think this government has a lot of failures, has been doing a lot of wrong things in terms of economy, of budgeting, on the relations with the international community. But again, if we're talking about the country, Israel is still a very strong democracy, and they're letting people to express their concerns about the current government.
And do you think that this current situation in Tel Aviv and the protests taking Hamas, do you think this is pushing the government to some kind of urgency or more division, creating more division in the region?
I think it's creating more division because right now the Israeli government, they have the strong support from a lot of religious parties, and they're not gonna change their mind because of the protest. But still, the protests are there, and they're showing that half of the Israeli population are against a lot of policies that have been taken throughout the year and even before the war. Right now, what is being taken in consideration is how the religious parties are going to be supporting Netanyahu, because they are asking for a lot for their own communities. They're asking for giving up on drafting for the Haredi community. They're asking for more budget for Haredi community, for new settlements. So these issues are very important for the Israeli society, and a lot of Israelis are against this because it diminishes the future of the democracy of Israel. But right now, it's still a democracy, and even though the Israeli government has been doing a lot of mistakes, I think it's still a very strong, legit democracy, and I hope the government get in terms with the demands of half of the population.
Before we wrap up, I would also like to touch down upon this topic. And do you believe that international diplomacy will be able to resolve the current situation in Gaza and Israel, and securing hostages release as well?
I think the international community need to, especially the UN, they need to start having conversations with Netanyahu, because unfortunately the UN has been biased against Israel in a lot of issues, and instead of bringing the Israeli government closer for a deal, they're bringing it the opposite, because Israel feels that these organizations have been either willingly or unknowingly supporting Hamas. For example, UNRWA in the Gaza Strip, this UN organization has been they have been getting used for Hamas for a lot of their activities. So the Israeli government is it's very concerned about this, and they're not trusting the UN anymore. I think the UN needs to be closer with the Israeli government. They need to stop being biased and supporting both sides of the war. And once the UN gets in terms and stop being biased against Israel, maybe the Israeli government can take in consideration the voices of the international community when it feels that it's not being against Israel or supporting just one side of this war.